JavaScript interview questions. Which keyword is used to print the text on the screen? Document.write, welcome, is used to print the text, welcome, on the screen.
What is the use of blur function?
Blur function is used to remove the focus from the specified object.
What is variable typing?
Variable typing is used to assign a number to a variable and then assign string to the same variable. Here is an example where number 8 is assigned a variable I, then a string John is assigned to the same variable.
How to find operating system in the client machine using JavaScript?
The navigator.app version is used to find the name of the operating system in the client machine.
What are the different types of errors in JavaScript?
There are 3 types of errors. Load time errors are the errors which come up when loading a web page, like improper syntax errors are known as load time errors, and it generates the errors dynamically. Runtime errors are the errors that come due to misuse of the command inside the HTML language. Logical errors are the errors that occur due to the bad logic performed on a function which is having different operation.
What is the use of push method in JavaScript?
The push method is used to add or append one or more elements to the end of an array. Using this method, we can append multiple elements by passing multiple arguments.
What is unshift method in JavaScript?
Unshift method is like push method, which works at the beginning of the array. This method is used to prepend one or more elements to the beginning of the array.
What is the difference between JavaScript and JScript?
Both are almost similar. JavaScript is developed by Netscape and JScript was developed by Microsoft.
How are object properties assigned?
Properties are assigned to objects in any one of the following ways as shown.
What is the strict mode in JavaScript, and how can it be enabled?
Strict mode adds certain compulsions to JavaScript. Under the strict mode, JavaScript shows errors for a piece of code, which did not show an error before, but might be problematic and potentially unsafe. Strict mode also solves some mistakes that hamper the JavaScript engines to work efficiently. Strict mode can be enabled by adding the string literal ustrict above the file. This can be illustrated by the given here.
What is the way to get the status of a checkbox?
The status can be acquired, as shown in the code snippet here. If the checkbox is checked, this alert will return true.
How can the OS of the client machine be detected?
The navigator.app version string can be used to detect the operating system on the client machine.
Explain window.onload and onDocumentReady.
The onload function is not run until all the information on the page is loaded. This leads to a substantial delay before any code is executed. OnDocumentReady loads the code just after the DOM is loaded. This allows early manipulation of the code.
How will you explain closures in JavaScript? When are they used?
Closure is a locally declared variable related to a function which stays in memory when the function has returned. Here is an example.
How can a value be appended to an array?
A value can be appended to an array in the given manner as shown here.
Explain the for-in loop.
The for-in loop is used to loop through the properties of an object. The syntax for the for-in loop is as shown here. In each repetition, one property from the object is associated to the variable name, and the loop is continued till all the properties of the object are depleted.
Describe the properties of an anonymous function in JavaScript.
A function that is declared without any named identifier is known as an anonymous function. In general, an anonymous function is inaccessible after its declaration. Anonymous function declaration example is shown here.
What is the difference between .call and .apply?
The function .call and .apply are very similar in their usage except a little difference. .call is used when the number of the function's arguments are known to the programmer, as they have to be mentioned as arguments in the call statement. On the other hand, .apply is used when the number is not known. The function .apply expects the argument to be an array. The basic difference between .call and .apply is in the way arguments are passed to the function. Their usage can be illustrated by this example.
Define event bubbling.
JavaScript allows DOM elements to be nested inside each other. In such a case, if the handler of the child is clicked, the handler of parent will also work as if it were clicked too.
Is JavaScript case sensitive? Give an example.
Yes, JavaScript is case sensitive. For example, a function %% is not same as the function %.
What boolean operators can be used in JavaScript?
The AND operator, or operator and the NOT operator can be used in JavaScript. Asterisk operators are without the parenthesis.
How can a particular frame be targeted from a hyperlink in JavaScript?
This can be done by including the name of the required frame in the hyperlink using the target attribute.
What is the role of break and continue statements?
Break statement is used to come out of the current loop, while the continue statement continues the current loop with a new recurrence.
Write the point of difference between WebGarden and a web farm.
Both WebGarden and WebFarm are web hosting systems. The only difference is that WebGarden is a setup that includes many processors in a single server, while WebFarm is a larger setup that uses more than one server.
How are object properties assigned?
Assigning properties to objects is done in the same way as a value is assigned to a variable. For example, a form object's action value is assigned as submit in the following manner.
What is the method for reading and writing a file in JavaScript?
This can be done by using JavaScript extensions, which runs from JavaScript editor. Example for opening of a file is as shown here.
How are DOM utilized in JavaScript?
DOM stands for Document Object Model and is responsible for how various objects in a document interact with each other. DOM is required for developing web pages, which includes objects like paragraph, links, etc. These objects can be operated to include actions like add or delete. DOM is also required to add extra capabilities to a web page. On top of that, the use of API gives an advantage over other existing models.
How are event handlers utilized in JavaScript?
Events are the actions that result from activities, such as clicking a link or filling a form, by the user. An event handler is required to manage proper execution of all these events. Event handlers are an extra attribute of the object. This attribute includes event's name and the action taken if the event takes place.
Explain the role of deferred scripts in JavaScript.
By default, the parsing of the HTML code during page loading is paused until the script has not stopped executing. It means, if the server is slow or the script is particularly heavy, then the web page is displayed with a delay. While using deferred scripts delays execution of the script till the time HTML parser is running. This reduces the loading time of web pages and they get displayed faster.
What are the various functional components in JavaScript?
The different functional components in JavaScript are first-class functions. Functions in JavaScript are utilized as first-class objects. This usually means that these functions can be passed as arguments to other functions, returned as values from other functions, assigned to variables, or can also be stored in data structures. Nested functions. The functions, which are defined inside other functions, are called nested functions. They are called every time the main function is invoked.
Write about the errors shown in JavaScript.
JavaScript gives a message if it encounters an error. The recognized errors are load time errors. The errors shown at the time of the page loading are counted under load time errors. These errors are encountered by the use of improper syntax, and thus are detected while the page is getting loaded. Runtime errors. This is the error that comes up while the program is running. It is caused by illegal operations, for example, division of a number by 0, or trying to access a non-existent area of the memory. Logic errors. It is caused by the use of syntactically correct code, which does not fulfill the required task. For example, an infinite loop.
What are screen objects?
Screen objects are used to read the information from the client's screen. The properties of screen objects are avail height, gives the height of client's screen. Avail width gives the width of client's screen. Color depth gives the bit depth of images on the client's screen. Height gives the total height of the client's screen, including the taskbar. Width gives the total width of the client's screen, including the taskbar.
Explain the unshift method.
This method is functional at the starting of the array, unlike the push method. It adds the desired number of elements to the top of an array. An example using unshift method is shown here.
Define unescape and escape functions.
The escape function is responsible for coding a string so as to make the transfer of the information from one computer to the other across a network as shown in example 1. The unescape function is very important as it decodes the coded string as shown in example 2 here.
What are the decode URI and encode URI?
Encode URL is used to convert URL into their hex coding, and decode URI is used to convert the encoded URL back to normal. Here is an example.
Why it is not advised to use inner HTML in JavaScript?
Inner HTML content is refreshed every time and thus is slower. There is no scope for validation in inner HTML and, therefore, it is easier to insert rouge code in the document and, thus, make the web page unstable.
What does the following statement declare?
It declares a three-dimensional array.
How are JavaScript and JScript related?
JScript are like rules and guideline while JavaScript is a scripting language used for web development.
What is namespacing in JavaScript and how is it used?
Namespacing is used for grouping the desired functions, variables etc. under a unique name. It is a name that has been attached to the desired functions, objects, and properties. This improves modularity in the coding and enables code reuse.
How can JavaScript codes be hidden from old browsers that don't support JavaScript?
For hiding JavaScript codes from old browsers, add these symbols without the quotes in the code just after and before the script tag. Old browsers will now treat this JavaScript code as a long HTML comment, while a browser that supports JavaScript will take these as one-line comments.